Welcome to Dancing with the Bards, a podcast where we bards discuss deliciously diverse display of tabletop role-playing games and board games. This episode will be enjoying a relaxing stay at the Red Dragon Inn, where other adventurers seem to have set up a drinking game where we were lucky enough to observe. The game can be played with up to 4 players, or more if you pick up the expansions, and revolves around each player attempting to beat, drink, or bankrupt the other players under the table. Each player has a certain level of alcohol tolerance and physical tolerance, but if ever the two meet, they'll pass out and are taken up to their rooms. Players may also enjoy losing all their money to a round of gambling and be thrown out of the inn for not paying their tab. Today, we are joined by another guest bard, Nick.
Hi.
Alrighty, so let's pay our tab and talk a little bit about this game. If we're getting right into our rubric, I'd just like to discuss the number of players, which immediately has a bit of a catch. So we're using the baseline game, which is Red Dragon Inn 1. It comes with 4 player characters and 4 sheets, or the cardboard mats where you set up your cards. So it is up to 4 players. However, with the expansions, you can get beyond that limit to a feasible maximum of 8, or I think you could possibly go to, at the most, 12. It would be a lot, but you could go up to 12.
The first time I played was with 8, and it got real wild real quick.
Oh, boy.
We were also at Denny's at that point for a couple hours.
Oh, wow.
I think you were there.
I probably was, but I don't think I was in a game for that with that many people. That sounds terrifying. But the game, at least the baseline game that we have, does set you up for a minimum of 2 to a maximum of 4 with the items that are presently within it. So for that, I gave it 2 stars, or I guess 2 points, just because I feel like 4 is a reasonable number, but the fact that you can expand is pretty nice. The only problem being that to play with more than 4, you have to buy an expansion.
I gave it a 3. I think the number of players is right in that perfect happy medium. Especially for this kind of game that isn't too overly complex. I feel like having slightly more players is a little bit more beneficial in this style of game. It definitely adds another layer to the strategy. I know when we played through it, we could kind of figure out that everyone's going to get at least one drink, around. There's enough people. Once we lost somebody and that stopped being a thing.
That's when things started breaking down.
Exactly. I think adding more people to that and removing that balance is really where the game would shine.
Oh, yeah.
I gave it a 3 too. I like this kind of a game, and having that amount of players really does make it inclusive for a party situation, or trying to introduce people to board games where you want a bunch of people to make it super fun and raucous. I think it's the perfect amount for a baseline, and having that scalability to it really does make it a 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave it a 3 as well. I think even with its minimum, it's the perfectly balanced game. I always still think of the expansions, even though they cost more, and just adds that much fun. And well, if we go to the the replayability, then it gets to so many different decks you can play as, and stuff like that.
All right, good to know we've got some already some consistency between our opinions.
Let's be honest, that happens a lot.
It does. I am curious how you guys feel about the inclusivity for the rating of this game. We only had the starter edition, so that had Zot the Wizard, Fiona the Volatile. Nick, what was the name of your character again?
Well, you had Deirdre. I was
Deirdre
Wizard as well at first.
I was just sorry. That's the second character.
Yeah, the second character.
My character technically.
Deirdre the priestess.
I only remember Delphine because that was what I kept calling her. And then there's one more that I missed. Gurky.
The quiet stealth.
Yeah, the stealthy one.
Stealth. Yeah, sneaky guy. Ouch.
That was my
Okay.
wrist. I don't know if it caught on the tape or not, but my wrist just decided to snap.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely
I
got
see
caught.
that big pop right there.
I swear
Caving
I'm
it in.
fine.
Yeah, so among those characters, it's pretty diverse, at least in terms of the options that you have available. In like the outside of like character options diversity, it doesn't have a lot of that. At most being like the wench, the character who appears on like half of the cards, who seems to be like a person of color, but everyone else seems to just be like a white girl or guy. And then Pookie, who's a rabbit.
I don't think that counts.
Probably not.
It doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's very much. When was this? Do you know when this was made?
I
feel like this
don't
was
know
before
precisely.
people actually voiced that this should be a thing.
Let's see here.
Because, like, people have been very good about...
2008.
Yeah, that was a little before people were very much realizing that representation matters. That's no excuse, but it's for the times a baseline.
I will say 2008 is right smack dab during the time of like the token character. I will say I think it should be pointed out that this game did not opt to just put in a token person of color just to say it's there.
But that's not necessarily a great thing either.
I mean, it's not great, not bad.
I will also say, so I'm on their the Slugfest Games website, the producer of Red Dragon Inn, and some of the characters that they have as like expansion characters are a lot more diverse than the starting four.
That's why I was saying I think it was more a product of the times than necessarily like a concerted effort one way or the other.
Yeah, like something they'd be able to sell to a large audience and then add extra stuff after the fact.
So when was the latest character or deck or what collection come out? Just as a
Unfortunately,
curiosity.
let's see. Quick Draw Barstool.
We need the
Allies
music.
Evil Pookie came out in 2021.
Oh, so last year. So yeah, they had more time to...
Yeah, so I think they just learned over time and
Right.
grew with the rest of us. But like I'm trying to think back to 8th grade. That's where I was, and it wasn't that great to be alive. I know, like being like that was. I think was that the year that gay marriage was.
2008 was
Was
the
that
year
2008?
No, that was
Obama
2015.
elected.
That was Barack Obama was elected in
Yeah.
2008. So we were just starting to like.
to get to a more comfortable
We can
position.
Correct.
That's weird to think that you're only 2 years older than me.
Really?
That's so weird.
I.
That's so weird.
So
You're like
Do you think I'm older than that, or?
no, it's just I never saw you in like in my middle school world, so like you don't exist, but like
Okay.
you very much were part of it.
Yeah, just over in Brookfield.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't
Yeah,
care
no,
about the
it's-
Different
Brookfield
town.
people.
It's because I was in Catholic school at the time,
very true.
that's no excuse.
covering it with whispers.
Yeah, I hate Catholic school.
So do I.
Those
I
were
was at
dark times.
Oh yeah, 13
Wait,
years.
Which Catholic school were you?
That's St. Joe's.
Oh yeah, that's
Brookfield.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
We
yeah, and
we
then
go over
I
this every
worked
time.
there for a couple years, and then I closed the school.
Straight up doxing yourselves right now.
Come find me. Like it's going to be very boring. My life is very boring.
But insofar as inclusivity is concerned, I gave it a 2.5, just because hindsight's 2020 with the expansions and whatnot.
Yeah,
I give it a 2.
same.
I would give it a 3 because I wasn't thinking of, well, that. I was just thinking, oh, well, the expansions will take care of it. So now it's a 3. So,
Yeah.
Fair.
Growth is important.
yeah.
Exactly.
I give it a 3 for them for, getting with the times
hmm
and learning.
So,
What?
We said
Oh.
keep going. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was thinking of the Pokemon.
comprehension. How well did you understand your cards?
I think like I've made this very clear. This is my style, and this definitely went into the next part of as well. But when it writes exactly what I need to know on the cards, I very much appreciate it. And it was very easy to understand. And even when, like, they'd give a wall of text and then say -2 fortitude. So, like, they would even break it down farther into simpler terms so that you can quickly keep going.
Oh, yeah. Just to build off of that for a second, I have never picked up a game and had such confidence in making decisions and forming strategies from the get-go. This game gave me every single tool to succeed right at my fingertips.
Mm-hmm. It is also nice that the only cards you really have to read are the cards for your character, and then some of the contest cards, because every single drink card is very intuitive into what it does. If it's got a heart, if it's a minus, you reduce fortitude. If it's the alcohol symbol, you add alcohol. And there's not like extra text that's like, oh yeah, if this card is played in this regard, then you do this thing, and you have to go through this whole thing. It's just, if you've got a heart, gain heart or lose heart. If you've got an alcohol, gain alcohol.
Exactly.
I guess I would go with the inclusiveness of it. If you have someone with like dyslexia, and would probably be better with the symbols, at least for those cards.
Oh yeah, definitely. Which I guess we didn't really talk about when we discussed inclusiveness, but in terms of comprehension, yeah, that does help tremendously. So you only really have to read,
recognize the color. Or
Yeah,
the shape.
and the rule book is very thorough as well.
Yeah,
like that's, even I was able to read through it, and I'll be honest, usually when I go to a rule book, my eyes just glaze over. But this was done in a way that made it easy to read, easy to comprehend, and I only had to read it once. I think I asked one question in the entire time we were like setting up.
Yeah. I will also note, I do like how the rule book that they have, or the rule sheet, is sectioned out very nicely, with the starting page being like all the info you need to know to start, and like the winning conditions, and then as you flip through, it's like more and more specific the further in you go.
Yeah, I gave comprehension 2.5. I guess with my cards, with the ones I selected, I still didn't really understand what the coins did. And there was gambling, and you had to pay for things, but was that a way to win or lose?
So
Yeah.
when you get into the higher, like when I played the first time with 8 people, the money started to really matter, because
Okay.
that was an easy way to knock someone out.
Yeah.
So
Because everyone's
that
got
was like
a way
a
of
second,
paying
yeah, that was a
cards.
second tactic to use to get someone out other than the fortitude, and it usually it works better when you have the more people.
Yeah.
It comes up more.
I can see that as 100% being a thing, having multiple gambling rounds.
Everyone's raising,
Exactly.
everyone's cheating.
Yeah. I was thinking they could add a mechanic where you could, if you want someone else to drink, you gotta pay for it.
There is a mechanic like
There
that.
is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it is. Oh,
There are, at least I know I got one the second time we played, and I believe the first time we played, you can pay an extra gold
And get 2 more drinks.
and 2 more drinks, and you can distribute those to two players.
that was a card.
That was a
Yeah.
card.
I didn't mean a card. I mean like an
Oh, like
actual
just-
system rule.
just in
like,
general.
you want
feel
that?
like that would be too aggressive. You
I
could
mean,
just
You
the
win
game.
1 round of gambling, and then you screw everyone else over with a bunch of
Well,
drinking
not only
cards.
that, but you start out with 10 coins. So if you wanted to, the strategy would be the very beginning, pay
Spend-
a coin and then give one person 3 drinks and then just see what happens.
It wouldn't be 1 coin for like 3 drinks. It'd be 1 coin per drink.
Well,
And you would only have to be 1 drink, per turn. So it'd still be just 1, and you pay for 1, but it's still.
I think
You're-
that next time we play this, we might just like play
Implement
with that.
homebrew
and-
rules.
Yeah, and then report back.
You're
Yeah.
literally buying someone else a drink.
Yeah.
I guess just an additional way of using your coins offensively, even if you don't have the cards for it. The only problem being that since everyone can do that, it would be inefficient to just not do that every single turn.
Exactly. And so at that point, it becomes like juggling your finances and having. I threw.
Well, that's the point. You're trying. Which one do you want to decide? Your finances or?
I would like to play with a couple of the expansions first before
Yeah.
I make any more. I don't need it.
Just
I'm
the
just gonna fidget with it.
Do the
Sorry, I'm
expansions
trying to
add?
get his pen. It didn't work. I made it worse.
do the expansions add rules or change things,
I
or just
believe
new
they
decks?
add new mechanics.
They add new mechanics, new drinks. There's like a villains expansion where you can have a
that's cool.
villain who you fight against, and it's like a co-op thing as opposed to.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I would love that.
That's like the 5th Red Dragon Inn expansion, though.
Okay, the seat's getting.
So do we have to play them in order?
You can buy any expansion that you'd like and add it to the base game, or add any expansion to another expansion, and they all work separately or together.
Okay.
So kind of like Munchkin.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, that's a game we should cover.
I think we talked about doing that when we got our system down and maybe had a couple more people listen there.
Munchkin is one of those like big.
Yeah, it's the
big
same when we
games.
talked about like Magic the Gathering and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and just leave those in for a little bit later.
I've only played it once, but I get the idea.
I love Munchkins.
I've never played.
You've never played?
I've never played.
That was the first game I ever played in Boy Scouts. That's what started my love for tabletop games.
Wow.
Well, much like Munchkin, Red Dragon Inn is widely available.
Yeah.
From the point that you can even pick it up on like Amazon, or you've.
No,
something?
we're good. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought we were. Never mind. Just forgot
I
where we
feel
were.
like the comprehension discussion we're all set with.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
availability.
So yeah, it's widely available. You can get it on Amazon. While I haven't seen like the full collection and every single expansion available in stores, like what is it called, local game shops, I have seen at the very least the first edition or like one of the expansions available there, or in some cases I've seen a couple of characters available. So in general, you should be able to find it whether it's going to be online or in store nearby.
Can I be a geek about my materials now? Are we
You-
there?
you
Are we
may,
there?
yes.
We're there.
Oh, yay! Okay. We actually got to do a fun thing. We're gonna segue. So we have two different copies of the box. Yours is significantly older than mine, and this is just for the art people out there. If you're getting this box and you want it to be nice, keep it away from the sun. The light fastness of their inks suck. My box is pink because all of the yellows and all the yellows lifted out of it. So their quality on the inks is not the best. Everything else in the box is great though. The cards are good quality. They feel good in the hand. They're not waterproof, which I would have liked because we talked about maybe turning this into an actual drinking game. The coins are a nice steady stock. There's no issues with how it's printed. It's really well made, but it's also pretty much mass produced. I'd expect this to be the pinnacle. I'm honestly a little annoyed about the light fastness.
Yeah.
But that's just because I'm picky as hell. So just keep your box away from the sun and you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't feed it after midnight.
Correct.
The one thing I will say about materials, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but I didn't take any points away because of it, the cards bent very easily, if that makes sense.
Really?
Yeah, I noticed specifically, who was it? Who had yellow? It wasn't Fiona.
I think that was the wizard.
Yes, Zot. Those cards I noticed when I was putting them away had a little noticeable arch to them, which I
Oh.
thought was really weird.
That's not bend.
Oh?
So that's a warping from moisture. So that happens with
Oh.
most cards. I thought you meant dog earring.
Oh,
So
no.
that just happens naturally with cards because the only thing on them that is uncoated are the edges where it's cut usually. So the moisture gets into those and will warp them.
Gotcha.
So it's annoying, but it's a typical thing to happen when you have a game that's not in a moisture controlled area.
Gotcha. Okay, so it wasn't as bad as I thought. I'm glad
No,
I didn't
yeah.
take away points for that.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, Brooke's done ranting.
I gave that full marks for materials, though, because we got, it's what, 50 coins, the 4 character sheets.
I took a half point off for the light fastness because
You're petty.
yes, I am.
Scandalous.
I know, right?
If I spend $30 on a box of games, I want to be able to display it, and I can't do that. I only have one side of this. I'm looking down to see. I only have one side where it is against the wall that is still having the yellow pigmentation on it.
I do see some yellow.
Yeah, that is it. If you go to any of the other sides, they're all starting to lose it. And if you look at the top, everyone is pink. All of their skin tones are pink.
They are really pink. They look like newborns.
Oh god.
Got ourselves some pink sauce spilled all over
Oh.
the
Okay, I'm good.
So
Alright.
Set up.
I gave it a 2.5
sorry.
myself. I forgot what I deducted the half point for, so I'm just gonna say it's the sun. Yeah.
sun. It's the,
The sun
sun
bleaching.
All right. Well, with that, now we'll move on to setup, which is fairly simple. I found it simple, at least.
Oh yeah, it took no time.
Yeah, it's just you set the 10 coins per person, or more if you're playing with more than 7. I think it's like 12 per person at that point. And then the cards, like your character cards, and then the drink deck, and then you're done.
Now, also, we don't ever talk about this, but breakdown of this game is also very easy. The cards don't mix. Your pile stays with your pile, and you do not have to worry about trying to sort anything out after. So it's cleanup is a breeze as well, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm. I will note that for some expansions it won't apply because they'll have like a special side deck that you don't want to keep with the main deck. But in general, yeah, they're about the same. You don't ever have to worry about mixing of cards.
At base level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars because it was very quick, very easy. We didn't have to even breakdown was very easy, and there was not like a whole lot of complicated steps to do.
I completely agree. Even though I was not involved in the setup or breakdown process.
Yeah.
You were an outside observer of this, so you got to see it in real time.
Oh yeah, it was open the box and start playing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I thought, when it was describing it, I was thinking it's just this, a red dragon, and you get to see this whole, like, board, and you see the whole tavern, you see people, you see chairs, and stuff like that. And it's just, you just get a little board, put your marbles on it, and your cards, and you get your gold.
Good old theater of the mind.
Yeah.
For the purposes of transparency, I did have a little bit of a primer to this game. I was at a convention in October, and I did watch some people play this. This was a much larger group, and I had no idea what was going on at the time. I think I can now factor some guesses. But it looks like a very good game for just kind of bringing out and just having to play with random people. It requires no time to set up, no time to break down, and it is so easy to learn.
Mm-hmm. All right. In regards to the actual gameplay, though, I think our rounds went by really, really fast. Like, I had a really good rate of play.
Yeah. It kept my attention, which is difficult, as I sit here drawing a deer to make sure that I don't make too much noise.
I will say the rate of play gets a lot better when everyone knows. Like, with most games, rate of play is going to be very, very slow when you're teaching people for the first time. So I know our first round, I think it took us like an hour and a half or something to like get through to the end. And our second round, though we didn't get to finish it, yeah, because the food came in. I feel like if we did go through it, it probably would have taken less just an hour. So we would have cut away that like half hour of sort of figuring out how things interplay with each other. So definitely one of those games where you're starting out, it's going to be a little bit slower, but once everyone's comfortable with like how the game mechanics work, things are going to go by super fast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. No other, everyone in like mind. Okay. Pog.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're getting into price. Now for context, I have no idea how much this game was because this was a hand-me-down. Online, it reads that it's about $32 to $34 if you were to buy it through like Amazon or something equivalent.
The base game.
Yeah, just the base game. And then each of the expansions is like either an addition. If you're getting like the full expansion, like Red Dragon and 2, 3 through 8, that'll be anywhere between $35 to $40 or $50. And then each character is anywhere from $15 to $25 if you're just getting the character bundles that they have there. So pretty pricey if you're trying to get everything. But if you're just getting the base game, I think $35's a pretty reasonable price.
I agree. It does stink that some of them raise in price that much, though. Because as soon as you start playing with multiple characters that you haven't seen before, you want them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to keep growing that, and they know that.
Yeah, that's...
But I get capitalism reigns and all of this. I did dock a point just because some of the expansions seemed needlessly expensive.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
I docked 1.5 points on that.
Oh, I was... I was not as harsh.
I think based on your two's answers now, I think I'm being a little generous. I gave it full points.
Really?
I think the $30 for this game alone is a steal. All things considered, nowadays you're looking at $50 to $60 for a board game. Albeit it does not have a ton of stuff in it.
Like, if you don't get miniatures, you don't get, like, it's not like golden or, like, metal coins.
Exactly. But at the same time, too, for what it is, the quality that you're getting, it's all right. It's about $30 worth of quality. The expansions, I'm willing to kind of concede they're a little pricey. I don't think they're unreasonable, though. At a certain point, between distribution and markups and all that, they need to make a little bit of money and continue supporting this game that is now, like, what?
2008 to 2022.
So that's a couple of years. That's a couple of years.
It would be 10 years to 2018,
so,
and then add 4.
14?
16 years. 14 years.
And this is why I was the math person for the game.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
But I do think it should be considered 14 years of upkeep on a game. It does cost a lot of money. I think the expansions are a good way of supporting that and making sure these people are still employed to continue to put out new expansions.
Yeah, I gave it a 2. I think it was... Is 32 to 34 is a bit much for something that has only 4 decks, in my opinion. What are we looking at?
Oh no, it's.
I was getting a pog face from Will. I was curious.
It looks really good.
Dog's getting distracted.
Yeah, and the amount of each expansion, I think it would be a little bit too much. I give it 2 because it's not wholly unreasonable, but something that's older and with just 4 decks and cardboard and cards and
all
stuff.
The mix-ins?
I think it could be a little bit better, my view. Speaking
of, we've talked about the expansions a bunch, so how do we feel about extras?
It's great.
Yeah.
That I did give full points for, because even though I disagree with the pricing, I did agree with everything else.
I went the other way with this one. I docked the point for the number of expansions. I think having too many expansions without making some sort of concerted effort to try and group the smaller ones together, it's not just a missed opportunity. It does kind of rub me the wrong way, where it feels like
too cash grabby.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a certain level of cash grabby I'm willing to accept, and when I have to, it's the same thing with video games. If I have to spend more money in the DLCs to get the content that I want than the actual price of the base game, might be a problem.
Yeah.
That being said, do we have an exact number of how many total expansions are out for this?
So if you're just looking at the actual named expansions, those being Red Dragon in 2 through 8, there are 8 expansions. In terms of characters, however, let me see their character expansions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh wait, I'll just do 3, 1, 2, 3. Math.
3 times 3?
4 times 3 plus 3.
So 15.
15. There are 15.
How can you make a math problem even worse?
Yeah, right?
I didn't want to just like count
3
directly into the mic, because that would be so incredibly
I know,
boring.
But the okay.
For people at home, if you answered it before Brooke, you win $1,000.
You get to be a teacher.
I am an art teacher, thank you. I just have to know like part-to-part ratios of paint and basic math for measuring, but not this. Did I knock you with the paintbrush?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
You looked offended for a second. I was like, oh no, I splashed him.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, so there's a large number of expansions that are available to the game. I also docked some points for the number. It was only half a point, so it still had 2.5. But I think of it from the perspective of someone who wants to have like the complete edition. So if I wanted to get that, I'd have to drop several $100s on all of these expansions and the different characters, and then I wouldn't even have the full thing because they also have some exclusive drink cards that were only available through certain events.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Cards Against Humanity with the
Yes.
sheer amount of expansions. Like, do we have to?
Oh no! I had hit the pause button. Now it's going again.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
I did a Chris. I wanted to make sure I didn't do a super Chris though, and not record half of the audio.
Rude.
Oh.
It only happened once.
It only happened once, but
And
I
it
will
never happened again. You're so rude.
You're right. When it
They will
happens
put
to
down
me,
infamy.
then everyone's gonna to talk about it until it happens to someone else.
That's fair.
Exactly.
So it feels very much like Cards Against Humanity with the sheer amount of packs, including the Mayo pack right now.
Mayo pack?
Yeah,
The
they have
Mayo?
they're right now. Cards Against Humanity came out with an expansion that is clamaze.
Clammy.
So it's clam
And
mayo,
mayonnaise, yeah.
and inside this jar is a pack of cards that you have to go through the crab flavored mayonnaise to get. Like, it feels very much like that. Like, where they keep on putting things out that no one's ever going to be able to fully get their, like, expansions.
Yeah, you'd never be able to get the complete edition.
Or want to get the crabbies.
Or yeah, why would I want to buy crab mayonnaise?
Yeah, wait until someone gets it and sells it on eBay.
Exactly. And then they'd sell it for like
and I mean,
$4,000.
you could probably do that as well for these cards that were exclusive. You could probably find them on a trading site somewhere.
Or like, I think Board Game Geeks had some of them, some offers. But still, it's the fact of the matter, not necessarily the fact you can work around it.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. But that being said, personal enjoyment, I gave it full stars. I do
Oh, yeah.
very much
Yeah.
enjoy this game.
I like
feel
that you can have a role play aspect to it. That's always my favorite. You're
Mhm.
reading the cards; they're hilarious. It's a fast-paced game. It's what you look for in an easy game to play.
I do also like just to tie in with that little bit of light role playing and the text on the cards. A lot of the text on the cards are generic enough that they can tie back into things that are actually happening at the table. Like with that treasure division error. I still think that was hilarious.
That
It
was
was
a good
very
one.
funny.
That really did tie in well and quickly.
But stuff like that, I have noticed a lot of these things, especially with what was that called? Gherkin?
Yes, that the
Gurky.
name that we have
Gurky.
Gurky.
which I swear is Jerky or Jarek or something else, because Gurky is not a name. Damn it.
It's a fantasy name.
I'm gonna keep going by Gurky, but I did notice with Gurky especially, there were a lot of things that tied into other people's cards. I can't speak for anyone else. I didn't really get a lot of playtime with Zot, but it definitely seemed like Gurky was more of the foil to other people.
Like he was fiddling with other folks. That's a bad way of putting it.
I definitely had a lot of those like immediate interrupts that specifically like cited other people's card names.
Yeah.
So
I know I had what was it called? Like I don't think so, but I think everyone has 2 I don't think so's.
Yeah.
okay, so I thought that I don't think so was only theirs.
Oh no!
everyone
Everyone's
has
got
them.
2. Everyone's
Yeah.
got 2 air quotes free interrupts
Gotcha.
that work on other interrupts.
Okay, I understand now. Then I retract what I said. Thank you for the clarification.
No worries.
Still did not reduce my enjoyment.
Yeah, I will also say, since I think we all very much enjoyed the game,
Yes.
would we all recommend the game?
Not necessarily.
No, not. Yeah, that's why I gave it 2.5 because. I mean, I guess you can substitute alcohol with juice or something, but
See,
drunkenness and
my problem wasn't even that. So, like, there were some cards that were definitely innuendo heavy, or just straight out, like I had one from Fiona that was just like, we're not talking about the metal bikinis anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, certain cards would make someone feel uncomfortable. And I think taking the cards out would be a detriment to, like, your deck.
Yeah. You'd have to take, like, an even number of cards out of each deck. And some decks have... saying deck now feels awful. Some of the characters' kits have very specific interplay. So if you
like
remove one of those...
Like the Don't Touch My Wand one.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was
there were
very,
like 4 of those.
Yeah, that was very heavy. That was very much part of their character. And like, yeah, it could have just been the actual thing, but the way, like, it could be an actual like wooden wand because he was a magician. It also just didn't come off that way in imagery or otherwise.
Right. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. I think for the vast majority of tabletop players, you will see no complaints.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But not to detract from the value of your statement at all.
Like, when we buy games, oftentimes we might buy a couple copies or we might decide we don't want to keep it in our collection. We donate those to a local gaming club, which is teenagers. Mm-hmm. I would not feel comfortable with us donating this game to teenagers.
Certainly
for
not,
several reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. Whereas, like, my favorite Strawberry Fields, there's nothing wrong with that. I can give that to anyone, and it's fine. Sorry.
No, totally understandable.
Free plug for Strawberry Fields.
Well,
Go
just
check it
just
out.
Stellar Factory in general. I'm trying to get us another. I'm trying to get us a game from Stellar Factory right now, and it's sold out, and I'm very sad. But
is that a Beatles kind of game?
So Strawberry Fields is literally just growing a field of strawberries.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, it's literally Strawberry Fields forever.
Yeah, I think it's technically, what is it, Strawberry Sunset or something, but I just ended up calling it Strawberry Fields because of the reference. Yeah. But can I tell them the game that I'm trying to get? Because I'm really excited.
Sure.
I'm trying to get us, so it's a long form version of tag for adults. So it is a pin that you spin to find out what item of clothing or physical object you put it on to give it to the next person in the game. And so you can do this with a friend group over a long period of time where you're just swapping this pin around. I'm very excited. It's sold out right now, and I'm trying to get it for us so that, like, when springtime hits, we can go out and just, like, be chaotic.
It's crazy to think that there's a pin that's just completely sold out.
Oh, I am so mad.
I mean, there's still
I literally went like
tag going on.
Really?
Yeah. It's been going on for 40 years.
Wait. Save this for when we do it.
Yeah.
We need the tag facts for later.
We'll talk about it later. With that being said about recommendations, moving into replay value, I do regret. I always take these sorts of games from the perspective of, well, if I have the expansions or if I don't have the expansions, and I flip-flop a lot. So for most of these I did if I didn't have the expansions, while some of them had things changed if I did have the expansions. This one was the former. So I gave it a 1.5 because while it has really good replay value for the first 4 games, if you play one of each different character, after that point, it's going to feel a little samey, which will make you want to pick up the expansions. And because there's so many of them, it's sort of going to be a rabbit hole.
I agree. I do feel like the replay value of this game comes more from the people you play it with. I feel like, as I've said multiple times, because it is so easy to learn, this is just it feels like a safe bet. If I would like to play something, I can take this down. I can run the rules by everyone. Everyone feels pretty comfortable fairly quickly with something like this, and we just kind of get into it.
On that same vein, though, I can't see playing maybe 1 or 2 rounds of this in a row without needing to switch to a new game. That's usually how I pose it. Could I play this for a long period of time doing this alone? And I think it would get old fast unless new people were constantly coming in to make that dynamic change.
Or if you had more options character-wise.
Even then, like, I feel like after a while it would feel very formulaic.
Oh, I guess.
Unless the expansions give new mechanics as
Yeah,
well.
like if we switch over to the one that has, so there's one that has a boss fight element where you're working together, like putting that in might change things. Mm-hmm. But like if we're just going off the base game, I feel like after a couple rounds of this, I'd very much need like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, something different, something to get the mind revving again.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like tag.
pretty much for all these, except for a few, I've just judged it by what is available right now.
Yeah.
And so I took a wider view, and just that's why I give the replay value of 3, because there's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but if you want to do it, there's enough for play multiple games with many different people. And
Yeah, and this is why we have multiple people on here, because we all take these, like, we try and make an objective scale.
right.
But at the same time, we still take them from our own perspectives.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to our last segment before our recap and final comments. So, insofar as the classic to innovative, simple to complex scales, I personally gave the game Innovative 2. I thought it was fairly unique insofar as it's not even like a deck builder game. It's sort of like just a competitive card game. Because it adds multiple different methods for victory, as well as multiple different methods to achieve that, whether it be causing other people to spend until they're knocked out, or reducing their fortitude, or reducing their or increasing their alcohol content, or some combination of the three.
Okay. I went the complete opposite direction. I give it a classic 2. While it isn't a deck builder, I do feel like this style of game has existed for a while, and I've definitely seen similar games where you have the deck, you have the fairly simplified mechanics, and it's kind of just go to the left and try and sort of either push yourself ahead or
Knock other people behind.
Exactly. I do feel like the strategy, once you boil it down to that, becomes very similar across all those games.
I get a classic 3 as well for a similar thing that he's saying. It felt very familiar. It felt very, like, innovative to me means I never thought of a game could be like this. Like, I didn't think they could make something like this. Where this, I feel very much like I felt at home with this. I felt like it was a very simple game, very classic. Oop, I just revealed my next one.
Oh, no.
I did too.
Oh, no. So I felt like it was very much exactly what Will said. 100%. SET.
I gave it innovative 1. I was thinking more of theming than actual mechanic wise. You don't, when you hear of fantasy games, you think of mostly ones, you're all out battling a villain or battling each other, or some mechanic or other, but not like a classic sitting in the bar drinking game.
Yeah.
It might be similar ones like it, but it's the first I've ever heard of something like that. Yeah, so I went to like I said, more broad theming than actual how to play.
All right. And Nick, I'm also seeing on your sheet that you had complex simple 0.
It finally happened.
Well, I don't.
No, it happens.
I just don't know. I didn't know what to do because it was
It
neither.
didn't feel
But
either
that's-
complex or simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like a game.
Yeah.
It was a different game, but I picked up early. I just maybe because it was the coin aspect of it was still a little confusing to me because we didn't have as many people, I guess, to make it really count. So that's why it kind of confused me. Like, it was, why would we implement them? We're just trying to outdrink each other. Why have a gambling aspect when it's just?
Yeah.
I get it. I get why there is, but just if a small amount of people, should there be?
Yeah. From
guess
our
For
playtest version.
Hypothetically, you could remove the entire coin mechanic from the game, and apart from like the gambling cards not really doing anything,
right.
you wouldn't really lose too much because gambling only causes everyone to either lose 1, 2, or 3 coins, and then one person to gain all of those lost coins.
Yeah.
I will say, multiple cards go around, and with proper strategy, you are completely capable of just sitting out of gambling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't feel like if I sat out, I gained anything or,
lost anything.
lost anything.
True.
I actually, when we did our second round, I had 4 cards that could just completely get me out of a gambling round that I was just sitting on because we only did one at the very, very start, and no one ever did any afterwards.
Fair.
So yeah, the card system or the coin system, you could probably take it or leave it and stick with the stamina or fortitude and alcohol content ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally find it very simple, but that might just be a matter of I've played the game before, so the way that the system works makes a lot more sense.
It still goes with the
matter of
theming.
opinion too. Like it's just it's your opinion that it's a simple, easy game for you.
Yeah. I mean, I also said it was simple, but just to give an example, I think we, when we did this for Upwind,
Mhm.
I thought that was a relatively complex system, just with the cards and how those worked and everything. But a lot of people said that was simple.
Yeah, and I did it drunk. Like I felt like it was a very easy system to get a hold of. It's just people wired different.
Yeah. All right. Well, with our opinions on the gameplay settled, or I should say the personal aspect of the game, let's hit everyone with our totals.
Okay. So I was 36.5.
Ooh.
I was at 38.
Ooh, 36, 38. I've got 34.
I'm close to that. I'm 33.5.
Wow, okay. I gotta pull up a calculator. 36 plus 38 plus 34 plus 33.5 divided by 4. That sets us with a very nice total of 35.375.
Which seems to be our normal, unless it's like something pretty...
Unless it's either really good or really bad.
Yeah, and like
A la
always, we really
Spyfall.
did like playing this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spyfall, exactly. I was talking to someone about that
Had like
earlier
a
today and got
20.
heated all over again.
Despite with the confusing coin system for me, I still enjoyed using them. I still like the idea. You're still in the tavern. You're clicking away the coins. The click-clacks.
You know what I could see this game really working well for?
What?
Like, you know how when you have a D&D group and then
Mhm.
some people just aren't there a couple times? I could see you slotting this in as an actual in-game thing.
That
where
is actually a good idea.
then the coins could matter.
Yeah.
You just trade coins amongst each other, or
Yeah, like just
someone
use your
gains points
actual
at the end of the
gold.
game.
Like
Yeah.
you could totally slide this into a night where, it's a RP heavy, no one's there to really like your tank's gone, your healer's gone, like you
Yeah,
can't
it's-
really
it's just
progress.
The thing is,
Yes.
you would have to. I guess the deck would have to match.
Well,
your
you
character,
can, but you could also
yeah.
theme it. Like
Yeah.
it's the cleric, the
Yeah,
the barbarian. Like
The
you can very
rogue.
much the rogue. You can very much like slot it in.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
Very
that would
much.
actually be really fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Note
idea.
to Ian. Can you hear me, Ian? Next time our friends can't come, let's do this.
Genius move.
So,
he
Ian,
won't
do
hear
you
it.
want to ride home from work later? You gotta let me know right now.
Oh boy. All right. Any last minute comments then as we wrap up?
I think that this is a very fun game.
Good comment.
Slugfest, send us the stuff and we'll review the other stuff.
Yeah.
Give us expansion, Slugfest.
Give us
Yeah,
all
right.
of the
That's not
expansions.
happening. We're gonna end up buying the expansions because we want the expansions, and then we'll
Yeah.
come back and we'll do
Yeah.
like a little mini.
Yeah,
Do a mini
exactly.
update.
Okay.
I do have one last comment that I wrote down, just as like a summary of everything that we've discussed. Very good. Oh wow, that looks just like the word "gay." What the hell?
Gay.
Oh
Well.
very sorry.
On brand.
It's easy. Very good and easy to understand game, dragged partially down by massive number of expansions.
Yes, that's a good summation of everything we've been talking about for the last how many minutes?
Well,
that's not a-
56 minutes, 42 seconds.
Probably a couple minutes less than that for you guys.
Oh right, because
Yeah.
we had the little start where we were talking a bit.
You heard me. If I have to cut anything out, you're just gonna get the remaining time of dead air in the end.
Just the raw right at the end.
Oh,
white,
yeah.
white noise.
All right. Well, with that all solidified, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Dancing with the Bards. The Red Dragon Inn was developed by Cliff Boehm, Jeff Botten, Colleen Scald, and produced by Slugfest Games. The amazing artwork was drawn by Kenan James, Doug Kovacs, Rhonda Libby, Team Cold Fusion, and Beth Trott. I would like to thank our guest bard, Nick, for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
And if you guys would like to watch our play session of Red Dragon Inn, feel free to make your way to our Twitch at twitch.tv/withbards, or...
No, and if not, they're the YouTube.
Yeah. Or you could check out our YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, or Instagram accounts at Dancing with the Bards. Don't forget to stay sober and keep your coin purse on you.
That's no fun.
Yeah, I want to drink.
Have a good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Or day.
I
Who
love
knows
you.
when you're
Yeah,
listening
Good
to
time
this.
zone.
Bye. God.